Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Sam, and this is the Nit Writs podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about why the hell we're doing
Yeah.
this at all. Well, mostly because we couldn't shut the fuck up ever, not ever once.
Uh,
Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I
I
feel
think,
like we were just already talking about writing, and that's really the main reason is that
yeah,
we were talking a lot about writing.
so we were coworkers and we
Hmm.
would find ourselves talking about books and then later writing,
Hmm.
like on our way to the parking lot. And then we would stand in the parking lot at,
For like 40 minutes.
yeah, and then be like, oh, we gotta go. And so that turned into more conversations, turned into conversations about particular books. We spend a lot of time talking about certain series. And so, yeah, we wanted to start a podcast that did both a reading and writing sort of, I guess it's a love note to reading and writing for us, right? What are we reading? What do we love to read? What do we love about the writing within what we're reading?
Hmm.
And then also pivoting into the space of like, what do we write? Because we do both, right? We novicely do both.
Hmm.
And so trying to find a space for us to one, be able to like hold each other accountable to checking in of like, what are we doing? And sort
Hmm.
of cheering each other on and spitballing ideas, especially when we run into problems with writing, but then also opening it up to a community and of other people who just want to hang out in a book, with a book, by a book, just making books, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the accountability part is a good part because we were kind of like when we talk, we'd be like, "Did you write this week?" So
Yeah.
we kind of already do that, and like you kind of need that. Like, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason writing groups, and this is essentially kind of just a mini writing group, a virtual writing group, because I mean, that's why writing groups are always so popular. Is that you need somebody to ask you about it. Otherwise, you could just go like 6 months and be like, "Oh yeah, I had that story."
Yeah.
Unless you're like, I feel like I go through phases where I'm like thinking about it all the time, and then
Yeah.
like I'll get busy, and then I'll be like, I haven't done shit for like a while. Like we just kind of did that, like, right? Did you write since the last time we talked?
I did. I wrote today, only about 300 words, but I added to the chapter that I was working on. I was like, there's like something in this conversation that isn't quite like I need to add a little bit. And so, yeah, I did that this morning with a child on my lap. But yes, I did do
Yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a little bit, this little scene this afternoon. Honestly, because and that's the beauty of it is that like I was like, we're gonna record this
Mhm.
episode
Yeah.
tonight, so let me write something. And I wrote this little bar scene. It was kind of, oh, I'm definitely what is called a pantser. And which is like somebody who when they're writing a book just fucking goes for it, kind of
Hmm.
essentially.
Okay.
You're really more of a planner, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have had this idea planned out for a very long time. I have a keep notes tab on my phone. I have Google Docs. I have a physical like journal that I keep around for note taking. I have sketches of maps from
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of things. I have a timeline that I've like literally it's on like a like butcher paper because it's just a scroll of a timeline, which is wild. But then I also have a digital
That's awesome.
version because that's psychotic to just jot it on butcher paper like
Yep.
a psycho. But yes, this has been mulling around in my head for I think I started it last summer.
Hmm.
Um, and I checked my word count today, and I'm at 23,000 words.
Nice. Oh, I'm
So
gonna do that.
yeah, so it's happening, it's going. But
Yeah.
our writing process is very different. I think we
Yeah.
should let the listeners know a little bit of our background before we jump into like, okay, so they're just two girls who like to read
Hmm.
and write. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think from an academic perspective, both of us have higher degrees. Mine is in history and religious studies, and yours is in English, right? And then you have an MFA in poetry.
Yes,
Yeah. So we do in fact know how to read and write.
just barely.
We have taught for a number of years as well, and I'm not currently doing that for a number of reasons, but whatever, that's where I was for a long time. But I think that I don't know about you because having living in an English and poetry space, and we've talked a little bit about like what you were able to read, right?
Hmm.
I don't know how much you were able to still kind of read things that you liked because for a solid like 12 years, I did not get to read anything that I actually wanted to because I was reading things like ancient Jewish magic and
Hmm.
and Foucault and all the really pedantic things that historians read. Um,
Yeah.
and so I feel like I came into writing, well, into reading a little bit differently, or maybe it's very similar to other people who are they are within college, right? They like read as a kid, and then they lose it in high school for a little while, and then you absolutely lose it in college because you don't have time for anything, and then you're just so burnt out on words on a page that it takes you a minute to get back into looking at
Hmm.
words on a page.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I read I mean, I honestly had time to read. I just didn't. Like I just did
Mhm,
not I was always like, yeah, I'm gonna read one day and I just never would. Or I feel like, yeah, I always tried to pick like classic literature because I was like,
mhm.
if I'm gonna read, I gotta catch up on all these classics I haven't read. Like there's so many.
Yeah,
It's criminal
yeah.
how I'm an English major, but I always joke that I'm like a fake English major because I managed to never take Shakespeare. Like I've read
Mhm.
very little Shakespeare. I've like all these things that I should have read. I just didn't. I ended up like my whole undergrad degree. I took like fun classes that were like weird. Like you read like, I did like an epic poetry class. It was the
Mhm.
history requirement instead of that Brit Lit class. And like
Yeah.
did like environmental no, maybe I didn't take that actually. I can't this I feel like it's not even that long ago, but it feels like so long ago. But, I took, like, random stuff.
I feel like college is like having children sometimes, like, you just forget all the
You're
hard
just
stuff.
like, "What happened?"
You're like, "It was an
Yeah.
amazing experience, and I would do it again," and then you're, like, really thinking, you're like, "Oh, I would never fucking do that again."
Oh, I would, actually, because that's what I mean, I scammed my degree, I just did
Yeah.
fun stuff, and it was so fun. But, like, I didn't do any of this hard like, I didn't do as much hard reading,
Mhm.
but I never read, like, classics like I should
Yeah.
have either, which is has its own problems.
Learned how to, quote, "grad school read,"
Mhm.
very early on because as a history major, you read a ton. I think it's one of the, like, heaviest reading degrees, um, and you just can't, right? You can't read every word, and
Yeah.
so I got very good at being able to take a book and spend about 4 hours with it, and, like a history book, not a
Mhm.
textbook, but whatever. And
Mhm.
be like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna read the intro chapter, and then I'm gonna read the like first page of every chapter, and then I'm gonna read the concluding chapter. And from that, I can tell you what the book's thesis is, what their process is, what kind of approach they're taking, what evidence they have, and what the conclusion is of their argument.
Mhm.
And so when I would sit down with something that's not how you read novels, I was like, "Meh." And so, like, it took a very different kind of retraining of my brain to be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, right, I'm just sitting and just enjoying and just living in this space for a minute and letting it envelop me for a minute." But yeah, I remember the first time being like, "Oh, right, I gotta read the words.
Yeah.
Can't just read the first chapter and then be like, ah, I got it. He lives. Great.
Funny.
I know all the
Yeah.
things."
That's yeah, I never really, like, did that much of that either, actually. This is why I always say I have a fake degree. It's a real degree, but, like, it really doesn't feel like it. But yeah, I learned how to skim very
Yeah.
fast. I read this book, it's actually ended up being, like, one of my favorite books, but in an undergrad class, I had, like, an hour to read, like, 90 pages, and I was always a slow reader before that, and I just something clicked in my brain, and I just read the whole thing and I was like, "I think I understood that." And from then on, I could skim
Yeah.
fast, like, but that was a novel that I was skimming, so it
Yeah.
didn't it wasn't supposed to work like that, but it somehow did. Um, And now it's funny whenever I'm, like, reading one of these books, if it's, like, not the best writing, I just read faster. And it's, like, my motto is, like,
Yeah,
if, that character is annoying me, I just read faster.
just read faster.
But yeah,
There's definitely books that I've put on, like, 1.5 or 2-point speed on an audiobook because 'cause I'm just
I
like,
could never
"I
with
can't fucking
audiobooks.
stand this character." I'm like, "Beep, beep."
I just can't. I like that people do audiobooks, but I could not, except for nonfiction, because I hate the sound of, like, almost like, so many voices. Like, I just
Yeah.
it's, like, irritating to me.
I'm here for it. I'm
Yeah.
good with audiobooks. I think also because right, I am a parent and
Yeah.
and I'm doing like a million other things. So like sometimes I just don't have it in me to like actually sit and read.
Mhm.
Um but I still want to read. I still want the stories. I still
Yeah.
want, all the things. And so I'm like, cool, well, audiobook it is. I'm also a little bit like, a little ADHD. And so for some
Mhm.
reason, doing things alone, but with voices in my ears makes it feel like I'm in a room with other people. And
Mhm.
so it's like fake body doubling, I guess, for me. And so like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I was
Yeah.
productive as fuck. And you're like, yeah, because you listen to an audiobook while you clean the kitchen, you crazy woman. And I'm just like
Yeah.
dopamine hit with my stories and
No, I for sure have to, like, be listening to something, but I'm usually, like, finding something on YouTube or something to watch,
yeah.
but, yeah. No, when I was in college, though, I think I read Game of Thrones in college, and that
Mhm,
is kind of it. Like, I think I didn't read anything else that wasn't, like, assigned,
mhm,
but I got into, like, video games and
mhm.
TV shows. So that's
Yeah,
like we would spend our free time like we didn't like watch like I haven't seen most things on like Netflix or anything, but we'd watch like shows we heard good things about. So we
yeah.
watched like Mad Men, Breaking Bad, The
Mhm,
Americans,
mhm.
and then we've been doing that for probably that's what I feel like our main mode of like consumption,
Mhm.
besides like just YouTube was like t- TV shows, very random particular ones, and then video games. And video
Yeah,
games, that's another thing I'm really interested in is like video games as literature because I feel like video game stories used to be so mid and just like
yeah,
they had to make some kind of narrative to go here,
yeah,
and now it's like much more central,
mhm.
and it's really interesting. Like games like The Last of Us and
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, I've never been a gamer,
yeah,
I feel for a number of reasons, I don't know if it's attention span or it's hand-eye coordination, all the things. And
you
I
need to
think,
be
like,
programmed.
I also I get frustrated with a challenge, but then I get bored when it's too easy. So like there's I don't know,
Mm,
it's just like meh, whatever.
yeah,
And I haven't really discovered the like storytelling aspect of games, but my husband, we've talked about this before,
yeah,
Horizon Zero Dawn.
yeah.
He
That's the game I said that you
yeah,
should play.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so I had watched him play it, do the story mode through, and I remember being like, this is like I could
It's so
watch this
good.
for visual entertainment and not play it.
Yeah.
There were a couple other games I would have to ask him what they were called. But yeah, same thing where I'm just like, wait, who's this guy? That's her dad? Who's dying? What? Why is the mom
Yeah.
dead? Like,
No,
and so like
video
I'm
games have
invested.
really come up. They're so
Yeah.
much
I'm
better.
not like, "Oh, it's not just like Pac-Man where you're just like map, 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 trying to eat
No.
like, whatever." And so, yeah, like
Yeah.
I love the idea of exploring some video game story
Yeah.
stuff in this podcast at some point, but it's gonna be a little tricky because I'm gonna be like, Topher, play the game.
You could watch it.
I could play it. I
It's
just
a
be
great,
like
like, date
it'd be
idea.
like story mode, easy mode, and I'm like, I'm here. Let's go.
They
Let's
have easy mode on a lot of
yeah, yeah,
games.
yeah, yeah. I'm an absolute not gamer, super noob, all the
To
things.
be I'm not the best gamer. What I am good at is like I actually love games like Minecraft because well actually Minecraft is kind of gambling because when you're mining, you only get something to get like every so often. So I feel like it has that slot machine effect on me of like,
Mm,
oh, just a few more. Games like that or games like story mode.
my kids play
Amazing.
Minecraft. They play on creative
Uh,
mode, and it boggles my fucking mind because one, I don't understand it at all. I feel so old. I'm like, what is that thing you're doing? Like, I
mhm,
literally am like, what? What? I don't get it. They are not old. They are 4 and 6,
mhm.
and they have a very limited time. Right? I'm not like a crazy parent who's just gonna like let
No,
my kid
yeah.
do whatever. But yeah, my
Fine.
4 and my 6-year-old, like, legit on a phone, not even on a computer, on my phone, or just like, "Beep, beep, beep, beep," and doing all the things, and I'm like, How are"
That's so
like,
funny.
"Okay, cool, cool. Mommy's gonna read a book. This is a tome." And you guys can do whatever NASA experiment on my
Oh,
phone
no,
is.
I know,
Yeah,
I that kinda game I can play because, like, a keyboard and mouse I'm better at, and also, it's like, you don't have to play,
yeah,
the hard mode or whatever, but,
yeah.
that's crazy that they play on a phone. I forgot what I was gonna say. Um
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
It's wild.
I learned Minecraft because, during the pandemic, I was like, "I'm just gonna load up this game, and I'm not gonna look up anything, I'm not gonna ask anybody, and I'm just
Nice.
gonna figure it out."
I
And that was really fun because I was
Yeah.
like it was really hard to figure out with no help, and I didn't know anything about it, so I was like and that was, like, really fun. It
I think that there's a
was weird.
level of, like, gamer literacy that I just don't
Yeah,
have, and then not that it can't
you
be
just
learned,
missed
I
it
just
generationally.
yeah, thank you.
So you're, like, 1 year
Um,
off.
I missed it socioeconomically as well, because like, when my
Yeah.
friends were, like, getting into gaming, we didn't really have that option, right? Like, we couldn't
You didn't go to
afford a
their house?
Yeah, but
It's not
I
the
don't
same.
it's not the same. My dad had an Xbox, but it was at my dad's house. Um, and my stepbrother had an Xbox, but, like, it was his, so, like, I
Mhm.
wasn't really interested in Grand Theft Auto. I was a teenager with a stepbrother who had cute friends, so I was much more interested in the cute friend thing.
Mm. Okay.
Um,
Well, yeah, I feel like high school, if you're not already into games, you might not get into
Yeah.
them.
And I also I don't know, it was just weird. I feel like if I had leaned into my weirdness earlier, it
Mhm.
would have still been books, right? It would still be,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I was just kind of a I was an awkward kid who pretended to not be awkward, and I did really, really well at pretending to not be awkward. And so part of that was not reading,
Hmm,
because I felt like I would have been
interesting.
like in a book all the time. And I was like,
Yeah,
no, I'm supposed to be like social and a cheerleader and fun. And
that's
so that's what I
funny.
did instead.
No, I've always just loved anything that, like, can take if something can, like, consume me, that's I
Hmm.
kind of, like, always search for a hyperfixation.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why video games I probably fall prey to a lot easier.
I,
Like, I played 40 hours of Horizon during a
yeah.
semester, like, the first time
And
I played it, like,
I'm what is gonna be like a little therapy session
probably.
on episode one here. I think part of it too is like, I feel like a lot of people who have like not the greatest life situation as a kid,
Mhm.
they're like, oh, I read, or I played games, or like all the escapism sort of things.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason why I didn't do that is because, yes, escapism would have been amazing, but I don't think I felt safe enough to do it. I'm the
Hmm.
oldest child, and I think like needing to sort of be aware of what was going on and kind of protect my younger sister
Mm.
and stuff like that. I feel like that's why, cuz I'm always like, why didn't I read as a kid? I freaking love reading. I've always loved reading. We did,
Hmm.
library stuff when I was little, and then once, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 hit, I was like, I just stopped reading, and I'm like, yeah, cuz those were, and then people are like, "Oh, well, but those were like crappy years when you were growing up." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, why weren't you reading? They were crappy years." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, because I had to pay attention to what was
Yeah.
going on, because I couldn't escape to other worlds, because
Mhm.
I needed to make sure the shit wasn't being crazy here." So maybe that's part of it. But yeah, so I feel like I have a lot of time making up to do with books. I do think that I've
Same.
read, like, a good handful of
You've
classics.
read a lot.
I have,
Oh,
and
of
I have
classics
and I have
specifically?
read classics too, right? Like, I have read, like, a handful of Shakespeare. I've read The Crucible. I've read, 1984 and Animal Farm and Wuthering Heights and, the Hawthorne and stuff like that. And so, like, I've read it. Um which is weird, because I'm like, if I start to tally up the things that I've read, I'm like, oh yeah, I have read a lot of books.
Mhm. You
But it's
probably read more than me. still.
Well, and then it started up again when I read Akatar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then out of nowhere I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. So now there's 11 books between this
And
and
you're just
Throne of
gonna
Glass and
keep
Crescent
going.
City, and then I'm just
Yeah,
gonna keep going." And I think last year, and I know it's not like super crazy, but I think last year I read like 70 books,
that's
which
so
is
crazy.
more
That's a
than
lot.
a book a week. Like at some point I was, between audiobooks too, because I count
Yeah,
audiobooks as reading. I feel like
they
it's
are.
well, I think it's like such spitting on our ancestors' storytelling and sitting around a campfire and disseminating
To
knowledge
say
and,
that
and
audiobooks are
tales
not
and
reading,
to say that, yeah,
that's
and
a good argument.
yeah, I'm like that's how we learn. Like really, like when you're like the Homer, or like Homer and the Odyssey and the Iliad, those were not books. They're poems. They're performances.
Yeah.
Shakespeare was not something you bought in a library. It was something you experienced. So
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I've read it." You're like, "Okay, that's great." But like, have you heard it?
Mhm.
They're meant to be heard.
Yeah. And I
Um,
get, like, the attention span conversation is also important, but,
sure.
we're doing
And
that too.
we're out here being millennial wives and mom in some cases, and like kind of doing it all on my own. Like granted I'm
Yeah.
married and things, but like we don't have a village the way we used to. And so like yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have time to just be like, how the fuck did I read 70 books last year? Oh, cuz it's in my ear. Because I had an hour commute to work last year, and that's where I listened to all my books, was in the car with
Yeah,
my Starbucks.
okay. I might get into audiobooks, I guess, if I had an hour commute.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I still end up always usually listening to podcasts. And there's something about people doing character voices that just like grates on me.
Oh, I'm here for it. I'm
Like a
so
nonfiction book, totally fine. A podcast,
yeah.
totally fine. But
There's certain ones.
yeah,
I've run into certain ones where I'm like, "Nope." But I don't have as much of that reaction. And but
I'm just a weirdo.
I do have some favorites, which I don't know off the top of my head. I just know like, oh, that book person I like, and that I
Mhm.
need to become more accustomed to like remembering those names.
Yeah,
But I'm also really bad with author names. I'm like, who wrote this one? Like,
it's because
there's this.
it's because you're Kindle too.
Yeah, this is also
Like
true.
what's not on audiobook
It's
is on Kindle, so you're not looking at
yes,
their name
yeah,
the way you would if it was a physical book.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a new thing. But I've decided that, and it's very hard to do, but I've decided that I'm not buying physical books until I've read the book
Oh,
and
interesting.
know I like the book and will reread the book.
Wow.
So that's not
Okay.
always the case. I had like every so often I'm still me and I'm still impulsive, and Barnes and Noble is down the street, and so I'm just like
Mhm.
yoo or like I know I'm going to like this one or like whatever.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I try to read it on Kindle first, and then, you know, basically physical books for me are trophies. So I'm like, yeah, I'd
That's so
like that, and I
funny.
would read it again. It'll be a physical book. But I'm also at the point now where I'm like, I have enough space in my house to have more than one bookshelf, and I'm like, load them up.
Yeah.
So
I just don't like the way a Kindle feels, but I've never had a Kindle. I've just like kind of tried it out a little bit, like in a store, like with somebody's, but I've
yeah,
never like, I don't know.
what is
Yeah.
nice is that like, so I have like a phone stand. And so I can like prop the Kindle up and I can just be in like whatever. Like I don't have to do the holding the hand thing.
Yeah.
Or like, sometimes I know that sounds like such a, oh my god, I can't hold my book.
No,
But
it's
like
a thing.
sometimes it's nice to be able to like just prop it up there. Now I'm not as bad as my sister-in-law. She'll like put her Kindle
She's
and
a
then
clicker.
she has a clicker, and so she's like,
Yeah.
"I don't have to move," and I'm like, "It's right there." She goes, "I don't have to move,"
It's honestly
and
like
I'm
if I
like,
was a
"I."
Kindle reader, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, I mean, she
Um,
also like crochets and stuff, so like it makes sense. She's like, "I'm
mhm.
crocheting. I got my button. I got my doing the thing or whatever." But
Yeah. Well, I read like sitting straight up. Like I never read in bed. Hate
okay,
that. Oh, unless sorry, I read on my stomach, like on my
uh huh,
elbows. I
mm-hmm.
would never like recline and read. Ew, ew, I could never. Uh,
Yeah, I
so desk
cannot
or on my
I
stomach.
cannot read on my stomach anymore.
No.
Having this is a fun thing. So having kids. So if you're looking at me like if I'm standing sideways, my pelvis goes a little bit like this, right? So I got a little bit of a duck
Dang.
bend happening, and so if you put that on it a belly, and then it'll like it hurts. So like I'll do it after like for maybe 15 minutes, but then laying on my stomach for any longer, I'm like
Oh. Yeah,
I
I
can't
just am
move.
so used to it. I feel like and also I'm decently like kind of flexible, so I feel like I'll always be able to do it. But maybe I'll need like a bean bag or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe you
No.
need like more. I don't
Yeah, no,
know.
I sit on one I sit on this hip with my legs that direction
Oh,
and I
that would.
lean
Oh my
and I
gosh,
read my little book or I sit
that's so
completely
funny.
propped up where I'm like,
Yeah, or yeah, I'll like sit at a desk and just lean
yeah.
over it like that.
I would love to
Uh,
read in bed, but
you'll
it
fall
doesn't always
asleep.
no, it's I will not be done reading before my husband wants to go to bed, and we have an adjustable bed, but the whole thing is adjustable, not independent
Uh,
adjustable, and so I'll be like up and be like, "Well, you gotta go to sleep," and he'll just be like, "No, I'm laying down."
yeah. No, I
So
just sit up in bed with my like pillow against like straight
yeah.
against the wall.
Again, I'm
Honestly.
such an old woman. We got an adjustable bed. I'm just like, "Mrrr."
Hey, that's not an old woman thing, that's a rich person thing. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. That's a you know how
That's
to spend your money thing.
That's what we and it's so funny because we got it after kids. I was like, "Do you know how amazing this would have been with kids?" Because I could not breathe when I was pregnant. I had to
Yeah,
sleep, like, propped up on the couch in the living room, and so when we had the chance to I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't lay flat on my back. I can't lay flat on my stomach. Like, I need" and so
that's awesome.
you can catch me at about 7 o'clock in the morning after, like, I've made sure that the kids are situated, and I'm just, like, in my full adjustable bed with my coffee and my phone, and I'm just, like, dopamine scrolling for 30
Sounds
minutes
awesome.
before I'm like, "Dinner will be in or breakfast will be in 30 minutes. I just need to get my caffeine hit
Mhm.
first." But
That's awesome.
and they're old enough that they can kinda handle that now.
They can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
How many books have you read this year?
Not that many. Like, I mean, I had the semester happening. I read Fourth Wing when I was in the middle of like burnout.
Mhm.
It was like one of those things that like I just seen so many TikToks and I'm like, I gotta fucking read
Yeah.
these books. So I bought it like compulsively like 10 p.m. on a Saturday.
I remember you
Just
texting
like
me and you're just like, "I
went
got
off. I was like,
it."
I'm just gonna do it. Like, and I yeah. So I read that was during like I was supposed to be I had like 100 essays left in like I don't know if I had a deadline, but anyway, I just had a lot of essays to grade and didn't do that. I read the book instead.
Nice.
And so I read those pretty quickly, like in a week, and then oh, okay, so let's see, that's 3 books, and then I read the Mistborn first
Mhm.
trilogy, not the like second part or something.
Mhm.
Um, Oh, and then I read Serpent Book, which
Yeah.
I call Serpent Book, but it's Serpent on the Wings of Night by Krista Broadbent.
It's such a long title. It's just so funny
Yeah.
to me to fuck it up more than it is.
But yeah, so I'm almost done with the second book of that now, but I
Mhm.
waited to buy it. So I read that. So Mistborn, Serpent, and then I read Dune because I didn't want to buy another book. So
Mhm.
I read one that I already had. So I read
Nice.
Dune, which is technically 3 books, but it's packaged as one. Altogether
Mhm.
like 400 pages. It's not that
Yeah.
much. Um, I think that's all I've read.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think I have a similar count. I think I'm somewhere at like 8, 10-ish this year.
Yeah.
I read the 3rd installment of the Serpent book.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I read that in like 3 days. I devoured it. I was reading it so I took a break in between what was I reading? I was reading Powerless and then
Yeah.
and I have thoughts
I've
and
read so many bad things about that book.
so many thoughts. And so I got the first 2 in like a box set and so then I didn't realize that the 3rd one, not the novella bullshit, but the actual 3rd one
Yep.
hadn't come out yet. So I finished the first 2, jumped over to Broadbent's, and then the 3rd one came out and I finished that and was just like, gouge my fucking eyes out, but loyalty, so I'll read it. It
Mhm.
wasn't terrible. I feel like I mean, trying to be kind. It
Don't
it's
be kind. I'm just kidding.
it's YA, right? And I did not
Yeah.
know that going in, and so
Mm.
I think not knowing that going in completely fucked up my perspective of what I was going to get into.
Mm.
And I think the YA is really evident in one, the level of romantasy, which I don't need people to like, I don't need full on
You
descriptions of like all the things.
like spice, you mean?
Yeah, but like
Okay.
they're, it's they hold hands for 3 books and then they like to have sex underneath a tree and it doesn't really tell you anything about it, which is fine. Again, that's fine. If I had been a little more aware, but people were like, "Oh, it's the greatest romantasy ever," and I'm like, where is what?"
Is it
Um,
like good yearning, you know? Because I think
yeah, there
it can
is.
be passable as long as it's still good in that sense.
There is, yes. And there's like good twists and turns along the way. What I didn't care for was I know we've talked about this, is like the level of repetition and not
In her descriptions, right? Is that what it is?
I don't want to ruin anything. There's a character who looks very similar to his father, and we
Mm.
know it all the time. Every time this character is in the room with the main character, she goes, "His eyes remind me of his dad's. His dad's eyes stared back at me. I couldn't separate his eyes from his dad's." You're like, "Motherfucker, if I gotta hear that this dude's eyes are just like his dad's one more time, like
Yeah.
she's got like she takes Snape level of your eyes are like your mom's to a whole new level of just like, we got it. You're
So
having trouble."
good.
And so like I just think that there's a
Yeah.
better way to like instill, because what that's really trying to do is being like trying to separate, the
Yeah.
parent and child and whatever enemy from non-enemy, things like that. There's sophisticated things that were happening, but when that's the
Yeah.
only way you're describing that, it was kind of like, fuck, my got it, green, cool, let's move on. Um
That's funny.
and I think because it's YA, some of the like trials, battles, violent scenes, again, I don't need it to be overly like crazy, but some of them seemed a little like, oh, this the target audience is 14, 15 because they're like throwing snakes off of a
14,
mountain.
15? I mean, YA is usually like canned. It's like designed that a 14-year-old could read it, but it's really more designed with like a 17, 18-year-old's like
Okay,
in mind, right? I mean, not always. Like just some younger
sure,
YA, but I feel like a lot of YA authors shoot for that so they can have the biggest net, because a
probably.
14-year-old will also enjoy
Yeah,
something that,
I think it's definitely a 14 to 16-year-old range is who the target
interesting.
audience is for that book.
It's
And
so
so
interesting
again,
that it's so popular
not
on bookshelves
terrible,
then.
but that's not me.
Yeah.
And going into it expecting it to be an adult romantasy and not
Yeah.
getting that, it just changes the tone. And I'm a weird loyalist for the most part. Like if I
Like
start a
you
series,
started it, so you gotta finish it.
and especially if it's only 3 books, if it's a trilogy, cool, I'll read another book. It's fine. I need to know how it ends. I don't care. It's one book. It's not, because by
Yeah.
usually I'm like book one, I'm like, huh, okay. And then book two, I'm like, well, okay, so now there's a plot twist. Now I'm involved again. And then I'm like, and I'm bored. Okay, how's it gonna end? And then great, cool, 3 books.
Mhm. See, when I'm bored in a book, I just like read faster. Like or I'll put it down and like take breaks.
Yeah.
But I tend to just not like skim, but like that book that I read for undergrad, I read 90 pages in an hour.
Yeah.
I got an A on that test, bitch. So I could
Yeah.
it's my
Mhm.
greatest accomplishment. No, I could skim like effectively. So I'm not like
Yeah.
actually missing things and I definitely don't
Yeah.
like so I've heard of people skipping paragraphs in
No.
books. Like
No.
what?
What?
Uh,
What?
but
Could you imagine
um,
with the way that we read some of our books, skipping paragraphs? Girl, we talk for 2 hours about 4 pages. We're just like, "Did you
oh my
see
god,
the nuance?" And you're like, "Oh my god." Yeah, I
yeah,
can't
no,
imagine.
I love. I mean, and that's one of my favorite things to do about like with reading is to like especially like something like Akatar. I want to theorize. I want to like
Yeah,
in Fourth Wing. Actually, Fourth Wing is going to be great. In terms of theories and stuff
yeah,
like that, and I think that's really fun and really what people hate on those books for how badly they're written or for whatever for a bunch of reasons, but I do think like the thing that carries like a community and is like a zeitgeist is like that kind of theorize ability,
yeah,
like that kind of there's just something that I guess as a millennial I'm like looking for that
Yeah,
Harry Potter
yeah,
craze, like, I mean,
yeah,
I used to just listen to, like, MuggleCast, like, all
mhm,
the time, even years after the books came out, like, it's just, like, fun to, like, sort of dig into books and to nerd out, and, like, then
yeah,
my English brain that, like, wants to do, like, "What does this metaphor
mhm,
say?" I eat that shit up, and so like, you can like books just because
yeah.
they're part of a larger conversation.
I
Um,
I think the
yeah.
part for me with, like, the sleuthing and the theorizing, I think that lives in, like, the history part of my brain, the same way that you're, like, looking at
Interesting.
metaphors. I'm looking at, like, interpersonal
Oh.
relationships, like, and like how cause and effect and like what is like,
Mm.
and so that's why I'm always like, what's the backstory? What is how did they get there? What is this thing? What was the catalyst to
Mhm.
this thing happening? And people are like, I don't know, they were a warrior. And I'm like, no, no, that's not how that works. You can't just be a warrior. You gotta have something like, or it's like, well, what
Gotta
war
have something
were
to
they
war
in? Who was
against.
the yeah, it's like, what was the political upheaval happening at this time? And I think
Yeah.
it's because I want that, like the world building of it. I want to
Yeah.
read a history that's not steeped in the world in
Mhm.
which I currently live in because I've been there for
That would be
a long
nice.
time.
Yeah.
Right. And like, not
Yeah.
that I know everything about world or American history, not even a little bit, but it's like I can only read about the Roman Empire for so long.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
It's not your Roman
And
Empire.
no, but that's the thing is like I'm kind of, you spend 12 years in the Mediterranean studying
Mhm.
Mediterranean history, and I'm kind of cool. I want to move on.
Yeah.
I want to
That's
go
the other
hang
thing
out
I love is world
I want to
building.
go hang out at Besgaiath or Prithian or
Yeah.
fucking anywhere
Oh, that's
else
how you say
sometimes.
that? Basgaiath?
Besgaiath.
Oh, I sang it Basgiath.
It's Besgaiath.
But you
This
probably
is
listen
why
to
you need the
audiobooks.
audiobook. Yes.
Yeah, well, oh, yeah, I know we're gonna have some interesting,
Like
stuff.
Hypatia and Hypaxia. It's
Oh,
Hypatia.
yeah.
It's Hypatia.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have a lot of those things, but,
What is your sort of writing history, right? Because I know we're talking a lot about our reading
oh,
stuff
yeah.
and how much we love it, but like, what's your relationship with writing?
Okay, so started writing basically, I read Harry Potter and was like, "I'll do that." So so I just kind of like, and actually that's why, for a long time I did poetry and stuff, but one of the things that got me to writing was I've always been really interested by the world building and like the immersion of something like a Harry Potter. And I read like I always was looking for books that had really deep immersion, really good world building and stuff like that as a kid. Didn't I very rarely read like anything. I don't know if I've ever. Okay, I think the last book I read set in our world was like The Babysitter's Club. That's
um,
I'm serious, like, when I was, like, 10 years old, like, I
nice.
don't ever read any of that stuff. So, I read Harry Potter, and then I kinda stopped reading, like, as a
I
kid,
mean,
like,
Harry
so
Potter's
I
sort
read
of in
some
this world.
middle. Well, yes, but it's low fantasy, it's really
Yeah.
not this world, which is kind of what makes it more fun.
Yeah.
But I read some other, like I read, like, Pendragon and Charlie Bone, if anyone remembers those. There's also I never finished those series, also, like, Maximum Ride, that is set in our world, but it's definitely a lot of magic. If it's in
Hmm.
our world, it has to be a bunch of magic shit.
Yeah.
And so I never read, like, just, "I'm a high schooler and here's my life," like, no, I mean, unless I had to for school or something. Um, so, yeah, I basically read those, and then I read Game of Thrones in college, and then other than that, I've read a bunch of, like, poetry books, and I've read, like, god damn, I'm trying to think of, like, what books did I read besides poetry books? And poetry books are short, and so you read, like, a
Yeah.
bunch of them, and honestly, I'll read as oftentimes I'm not even reading, like, a full book of poems, I'm reading 10 poems from this one poet or something like that. But I've probably read 40, 50 poetry books, from different authors. I don't know, I guess, and then I started reading ACOTAR again.
I
And then I
think
read ACOTAR and Fourth Wing in the books that I read this year.
I think the first like fantasy book I read was Twilight.
Oh, I
Ever.
read Twilight too. That was probably the
Ever.
other book I read in high school
Because
that yeah.
when I did read when I was younger, I read horror Stephen King, Dean Koontz,
Oh, I
R.L.
could never.
Stine. I started out with R.L. Stine was where I was with
I did not like
Goosebumps,
those
and I
books.
moved very quickly into like the R.L. Stine Fear Street series. I was not old enough to be checking those out from the school library, but I was like in there with
Oh.
my librarian, so she let me check those out. One of my absolute favorite books of all time when I was growing up was called Kill the Teacher's Pet, and I found it and I purchased it and I read the first chapter and I said, "Wow, this is fucking god awful." So it's on my
Me
shelf.
as an adult, you did?
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
And I was like, "Oh, this is a horrific writing." But okay. Maybe I'll
It's
sit
like
with
for
it.
kids, right?
It's a yeah, it's a horror story for young, I don't know. It's young
Like
adults.
middle
Like
grade?
maybe
Okay.
it's about the main character I think is in high school,
Okay.
and
So it's probably YA
he
then.
his he has a substitute teacher. He's obsessed with like true crime, which they don't call true crime because the book is old enough to where true crime is not a coined term yet. So he's all about true crime. And then all of a sudden he has a substitute teacher, and his suspicion is that the substitute teacher killed the teacher so that he could be the substitute, so then he can kill the like top performing student in the class, and that's exactly what happens, and he's got to save his best friend because she's valedictorian, yeah, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in seventh grade I was like, hell yeah, this is a cool mystery. But I don't think, yeah, I think that the first time I ever read sci-fi or fantasy really was with Twilight, and I think it was like
Mhm.
2008ish,
Yeah.
that I read those, and I devoured them in like 5 minutes. And then went to college, and then when I was still in my master's program, but I was pregnant with my first, and that's when I read Harry Potter for the first time. um and then I took another break because masters,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then it was akatar, and then it was just
A bunch of other
could
books.
could not
Yeah.
get enough, still can't
The
get enough.
70 books you read last year were, to be clear, like mostly
Yes.
romantasy stuff like
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
think ACOTAR was the first romance I ever read. Like, I never
I
read a single romance before that.
I did read, so I mean, I guess they're romantasy. They're YA. It's the oh my goodness, what is her name? Clarissa Clare.
I think I've seen her name.
Yeah,
Is it a book
she
talk book?
sort of, she has written
That's
Mortal
funny.
Instruments
Oh,
series.
I've heard of those.
Shadowhunters. It's the Shadowhunters books.
Oh, okay.
Um and there's like seven in the main book story, and then you get two trilogy series and a trilogy sequel, like two trilogy prequels, trilogy sequel, right? Things.
Hmm.
So like there's a ton of them. Those technically take place in this world. Um but have lots of magic happening, and they kind of pull from like Judeo-Christian um mythologies. And so of course
Interesting.
I was just like, read it, they call themselves the Nephilim, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
that's got it. And so like coming out of a master's degree that I wrote, Jewish women's magic
Mhm.
practices. These were like, that
They're
was the
cool, yeah.
go-to. Yeah, that was the go-to books to read.
Interesting.
And so I read all of those before I read Akatar. So maybe those were the books that actually got me back into reading.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
okay.
yeah, I ate those up very quickly. That was one of the
Yeah.
first books that I cried to. There's a character in it. I'm like such a loser. There's a
No!
character in it who um is turned into a vampire. And when you're turned into a vampire because you're damned, you can't do anything that has religious iconography or whatever. So like you can't
Mhm.
wear a crucifix, you can't wear a Star of David, you can't pray, you can't go to churches, you can't go on hallowed ground, all the things. And he thinks that his life is over. And he's a Jewish character. And so at the end of a Jewish life, there's a particular prayer that you say,
Mhm.
and he can't say the prayer because he's a vampire, right? He's like physically cannot say the prayer because it utters the
Mm.
name of God and he's damned and he can't do it. And so he says his best friend's name instead. And I was just like sobbing. I think I was postpartum at this point too, so like cut me a break. And so my husband is just like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "He can't say the Shemai." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "He can't pray. He's a vampire." And he's like so confused as to what's happening. I'm just like, "Leave me alone."
That's yeah, I feel like yeah,
But yeah,
that's
so
so
I think that that's
interesting.
like one of those like moments where I'm like, "Oh, Simon."
Mhm.
um, but yeah, so maybe those are the books that actually got me reading again. It was more that space, and
Yeah.
then but I like went real hard when I started reading Akatar. I was like, "Oh, I can't get enough of this like genre," because it's that was the first like adult fantasy romantasy, because even um Claire is YA.
Even oh, yeah.
Cassandra Clare is
Yeah.
YA. So I
I
feel
don't think
like
I've ever read, like, an adult. It yeah. Is ACOTAR considered yeah,
yeah,
it is considered
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because like, later books for sure, but, man, I don't know if you can have part of a series, and I don't know how that
yeah,
works.
no.
Probably not, probably not. Um, but,
We're still talking about books. We haven't talked about our writing yet, by the way.
oh, yeah.
48 minutes in and we're still talking about reading.
We should have known. The thing that okay, the reason I probably also didn't feel the urge to the reason I didn't really like necessarily want to read probably also was because I was engaging with like stories in like other mediums like video games and TV, and that really scratched that
Mhm.
itch. So like okay, like like last year we watched all of the X Files, which was, I was like I he wanted to watch Kale wanted to watch an episode, and I was like, "I don't wanna do that. It's an old show. I just, like, didn't
Oh.
I just was, like, not interested at all, and I was like, "I'll do it for you. We'll just watch 1 episode."
Uh-huh.
And then we ended to finish the episode, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna keep going." And then I was like this insane person, like, "Come on, let's watch another one. Let's watch another." I
Yeah.
was like a bully after
Yeah.
that.
Too
And
nice.
then we watched, like, Gilmore Girls, The
Nice.
Sopranos, The
Mhm.
Americans. Just, like not necessarily all last year, but we rewatched some of those, like, that's, like, the stories that I was consuming mostly.
We just started like 3 nights ago. We were like, I don't know what like I was like, I don't my Kindle is dead because I have like the drawing feature so the kids like to draw. So
Oh,
like the kids have drained my Kindle battery. I don't have the bandwidth to read. Like what do we want to watch? And I'm like such a sucker for just putting on the same shit over and over and over
yeah.
again and watching it again. That's probably my ADHD or
No,
whatever.
I am not. I very rarely rewatch stuff.
Oh, I'm psychotic. So I've watched the entire series of Law and Order SVU probably like 6 times through. Cuz I could just watch it again and again and again and again and again. And I'm like, "Oh, I know
I could
exactly what's going to happen. I know
never.
who it is. I know all the things. I know all like if you took me to an SVU trivia, I'd fucking nail it." Like I'm that person where I'm like, "I know that's precinct number 16. I know what Olivia's mom's name is." Like just stupid weird shit. Um and so Grey's Anatomy is another one, and so Grey's is what I've been rewatching. And Topher was like, I was like, I don't want to just like watch this, and so he's like, well, let's like, I don't know, let's start Supernatural and see how that shit show of a show goes, and like, because it's old school and it's
Yeah.
like we know like the lore and all the stuff, but we've never watched it, and we
You
made
never
it through
watched
the
it?
no, and we made it through the first episode, and I was like, this is gonna be our thing, huh? And he's like, yeah, like
That's funny.
it's a
Yeah.
I was like, I get it. It's ridiculous and old school and amazing. But yeah,
So
so same thing
funny.
like X-Files, and I feel like the Supernatural kind of lives in that like I don't know, we really want to watch like a 22-year-old show with
Well,
22-year-old
X-Files is
special
like
effects. Yeah, X-Files is way old.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sometimes it just hits. But I mean any show that has good ratings I'll pretty much watch.
Mhm.
Um so like yeah, but we don't rewatch them, and we just watch them
Yeah.
like once. We just rewatched Mad Men after 7 years of not. Like,
Nice.
so we
Yeah.
waited quite a while. Actually, I've seen Schitt's Creek like 3 times.
I haven't seen
That's
that
such a
one.
good show.
I have heard
And we
great
just
things.
watched Boardwalk Empire last year, which Kale was watching, like, When He Met Me in, like, 2013,
Mhm.
so it was like he hadn't seen it in so long, he'd forgotten everything, and it was like, that show will fuck you up. Even The Sopranos was, like, so
I
intense,
haven't seen that either.
but yeah, no, yeah, see? I'm well watched.
Yeah, you're well watched and I'm well-ish read. Yeah.
Uh-huh, and then I played a bunch of other video games, and that's, like, all I did for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, so, okay, in terms of writing, um oh, I think I remember starting talking about this before, and then I just went off a cliff, didn't I? Yeah, I started reading, writing when I read like Harry Potter. Wanted to write fiction for most things. I wanted to like, I was always writing like some kind of like novel or story. Did NaNoWriMo a couple of times in my like early 20s. Then I took some creative writing classes at the community college and started writing like more short fiction and poetry. And then I was like, I just kind of got into my head like, I'm not good at writing like long form because I would always start a project and like kind of never finish it. Or for a novel, I felt like I never had a good enough idea.
Mhm.
Probably I was just really underread that I was like, you know what I mean? Like, when you read, you start to get more like, the
Yeah.
more and more you read, the more your mind is like open to like possibilities, and then you
Mhm.
have I anyway. So so I was not as interested in writing novels. So then I started shifting towards poetry. That's why I did my MFA in poetry. Um, and um, and then I just wrote poems for like 3 years, and was only interested in writing poetry um until I kind of discovered like book talk and was like, it would be kind of like I was just kind of like curious about like writing like a thing like that because it's kind of like what I used to want to do. I don't know if I want to write romance, but I definitely like what I actually like about Akatar is like the lore,
Mhm.
is like, I like the depth and, like, I've yeah, that's one of my things, which is funny because then I'm also, like, a pantser and I don't plan stuff out.
Mhm.
I do plan stuff. Like, I also have a timeline, I also have a map, I also have, like, a bunch of stuff for my
Yeah.
one story, but, um I kind of do better if I think less about it
Mhm.
beforehand, and it's more like I'll use as a revision, or sometimes I just have other ideas or something like that. Or with my one story, I have kind of a higher concept, so I needed to think through how could that be possible.
Yeah.
And so that's like what I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time thinking about. But yeah, I kind of with poetry, I would always write like I would just write in like a poem in like 4 minutes, and
Mhm.
like that was it, and I wouldn't like Kale, well, we met in writing classes, so he'll write a poem and he'll like spend like 20 minutes and he'll rework it as he writes it. And I could never. I just spit it out and then I'm like, there we go. And then I'm terrible. The reason I never publish any of my poems is because I could never revise them. Because every
Mm.
time I go to revise them, I would like I call it breaking them. So like it had a thing that was like interesting in the draft, but it was like messy, didn't really make sense, wasn't
Yeah.
connecting, like metaphorically, resonantly, wasn't really hitting, like it's kind of all over the place. And so when I tried to tie those ends up, it would just like then it didn't have the thing that made it interest. It
Yeah.
like lost a spark.
Yeah.
Um, so and then writing now is kind of like I just have lots of little bits and pieces of a bunch of stuff, and let's see. Oh yeah, I have 37,000 words in the long story that I've been writing for like a year, and I have 10,000 in the one that I just started like 2 months ago,
Nice.
and but, yeah, it's kind of the none of it's in order, none of it's together. Like, the one I keep writing, like, new characters for, and I'm like, "So this is a 8-book series? Because or
Yeah.
am I just gonna have a crazy hodgepodge thing?" But I'm
I
just like, I'm
mean,
not
yeah,
worried
I
about it.
mean,
I'm
Game
just
of
going.
Thrones has 4,000 characters,
Yeah.
so
Or
yeah.
maybe I'll just, like maybe this is a different story. Maybe this character
Yeah.
doesn't belong in this world, even though he's written in this one. Maybe it'll just be something else. But I kinda, like, don't ask any questions. I'm just like, this is what I felt like
Yeah.
doing." Like, um, yeah. What about you?
I liked the idea of writing stories when I was younger. I kind of dabbled a little bit with poetry for like a minute and realized that's not my wheelhouse. But I think it's also because I was like doing like really rudimentary conventions of like rhyming schemes and shit like that. And I was like,
Yeah,
nope,
that'll
not
get
into
old
it.
real fast.
And so I it's very strange. I never considered myself an artistic, creative person ever. I was
Really?
like, ever. I was like, I can't draw, I can't write, I don't really read a whole lot. Like, I'm just gonna be an academic. Like those who can't do teach. That's my thing. And then I started to do more creative stuff. I drew a little bit here and there, or I would be like balling on a budget and was like, I want something, I want something up in the house and I don't want to buy the art. I'm just going to make some art for the house. And which was wild.
That's
Or
cool.
like doing stuff with the, in like my kids' room. So like I, drew like space and astronauts on her dresser. So there's like an astronaut that was like holding up balloons and the balloons all look like, the different planets and
Cute.
like, like cutesy shit like that. Um, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'm a
You're
little
just in
bit."
lying to yourself.
Yeah, I was like, "I guess I am creative or whatever. I can at least mimic, right?"
Mhm.
Um and as far as writing goes, right, all of my writing up until recently has been academic. So, I wrote 40 million 20-page, 30-page papers for my undergrad,
Ugh.
and for my master's program, and then I
Oh
wrote
my
a
god.
thesis, and my thesis is about 90 pages, um, on literally on ancient Jewish women's magical practices. So it's a thesis on ancient history, which is interesting and limited and all the things. And
Mhm.
yeah, and that took like 4 years to write. And for a number of reasons, right? I had two kids, COVID happened, right? I was
Mhm.
working full time. So like whatever, it is what it is. I don't feel bad about it. Um, but yeah, that lives.
It
It's
exists
it's actually
somewhere.
it's actually it's actually right. It's the black book right there that it just lives right behind
Nice.
me. So yeah, so it exists, and that's my writing legacy. And I was like, that's lame. Nobody's gonna read that. um
Yeah.
and I just started reading more and was like, it would be really cool to be able to like create something, but I didn't think much of it. And then I know I've told you this, and it's such a stupid, like I sound like fucking Stephanie Meyer, where I'm like, I just had a dream. Um
No, that part of my ears decides hers said that.
I just had a dream of a vampire in a meadow, and I just wrote that. Yeah, no, but kind of. So there is a covers band called Our Last Night, and they're popular on YouTube or whatever. They predominantly do like metal punk ish covers of like pop songs or whatever. But they have some original songs as well, and one of their songs is called Valley of Vision, and I was
Mhm.
like, like how cool would it be to like, I was like, and so like I don't know, my brain went a little crazy. I was driving to work being a little psycho, and it was just like a valley of it, like a valley where you like walk through a valley and you get visions, or like it's like, hypnotic, not or like, hallucinogenic or something. I was like, how cool would it be to like have that as like a plot point in a story where like they have to travel through this like narrow passage a through a mountain range, and during that they're being given visions, right? And whether that's like,
Interesting.
their greatest
Pet
fears,
peeve.
their greatest wants, right? And the whole point would be like to trap them in the mountain, right, for a monster to eat or something or whatever. I don't know. I was just like, yeah, whatever. And I couldn't get the thought out of my head because I was like, that's cool. And so it really became like the Valley of Vision project for a minute. And then I
Okay.
was like, okay, well, if I'm going to have people go through the Valley of Vision, I need people. And creating characters is not difficult for me. I love it. And so, I mean, it's not difficult in the sense that I can just like, the rudimentary, like base level. Oh, here are all my people.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, so I started character building and was like, what are the couplings? What are the groups? Who's this? Who would be the romantic like interest? Who's the main character? Um yeah, and then it sprouted from there. So then I just made a character list, and I started doing like a, who belongs to who, what's the relationship between everybody, and like really basic, like who's the grouchy one, who's the funny one, who's the nice one, who's the tortured one, who's the, like kind of tropey stuff just to begin. Um and yeah, started there, and then a year later I have 24,000 words of characters that I'm pretty attached to.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not a terrible story. There's things that are still kind of happening, and I'm still trying to figure out, like, there's one character that I'm like, what does that character want? Because you have to have a want for a
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
And I'm, still trying to figure out how to kind of push the plot a little bit, but it's coming. It's coming together.
Yeah.
I think about it a lot before I go to bed. I'm psychotic and I replay conversations
No,
that
I
are
do the
are
same thing.
are fictitious because they don't exist. They're not real humans, but
I write before bed a lot.
I replay the conversations over and over and over. How would it play out from this perspective? From should I write it from her perspective or from his perspective? Or should it be interrupted so that this person kind of has is a little bit privy to what's going on in the room, but not completely? Like all sorts of different things. So a lot of that sits in my brain before it makes its way to the page because I write in chronological order.
That's crazy.
I start
Yeah,
in the
some people just do.
beginning and just go. And so I have big plot points, big scenes in my head that I'm constantly, and I have them in notes, right? I have like,
Mhm.
there's a thing where I'm like, and then they walk into this place and here's the conversation and here's the vibe and here's this and like make sure that like and then like it's always I always come up with like a sassy or like a smart ass or like something that I think is clever like for someone to say and I'm like, well fuck, now they got to say that because that's so that character to say that. And I'm like, well,
That is so funny.
how do I like how do I engineer a conversation in which that
Off that line.
happens? And like that's kind of I feel like I really do start more from dialogue and from
Yes.
like character interactions than I do from like big world building stuff. I know what the world is,
No.
but that still is like kind of working itself out. Like I think because
Yeah.
I've stopped going back and editing while I'm writing because it's psychotic.
Probably for the best.
But yeah, so like the world, like some of the names for some of the places I've picked, like they're one thing in 10,000 words ago and there's something else now and I just made a note that says, "You didn't like that, you changed it. Make sure to change it." Um
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's definitely rough.
As it should be in a
Yeah.
draft.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's
yeah.
mapped out in my head.
Yeah, well, and
And
you wanna know the world in your head, but if it was like, some of the biggest critiques some writers have is like your world building is way too overt. Like nobody
yeah.
wants to read that. Um,
Yeah. Well, and
and so I think
I have
that's better anyway.
6 books in my head for this
It's
particular
crazy.
clump of characters. It's 2 trilogies, right? So the first trilogy would follow my current main characters, clearly. That's how that goes. Gideon and Genevieve, those are the names. But one of the supporting roles in
Mhm.
that is this character Ren, who I don't know why, but I've just fucking fell in love
You
with this
latched onto
character.
him.
I latched on. I like kind of put Gideon aside for a minute and was just like, who is this guy? Because it just
Mhm.
was very, yep. And in my sitting being like, who is he and what is his like, what's the backstory? What's the relationship to this? I was just like, oh, I need to explore this.
Mhm.
And so he, in my head, will have the second trilogy. So you'll have like the
That's awesome.
main, and then it'll be kind of a spin-off, same world, whatever. But like by that point, Genevieve and Gideon will be wrapped up and they'll be doing their shit. Um, and then Ren will be really called to action to figure out his quest and his journey and his stuff. So
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I
And I hate talking about tropes, but I think that's Ren's story, at least that trilogy, that's where like friend to enemies to lovers something
in
will be happening in
mhm.
that book.
Yeah, well, and
That is
tropes
that's
are
not the
just
case in the
tools.
first trilogy.
Yeah.
The first trilogy is not, there's no enemies to lover. It's very
Yeah. Well,
different
yeah.
relationship. But yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people like that stuff, but I just think like um It's, I think
Apparently,
about
if you're
tropes,
gonna
but I
sell a
don't
book,
think
you
about tropes.
yeah, apparently if you're gonna sell a book and you're gonna, market your stuff, anywhere on the internets, you need to tell the people the tropes.
No, those are the bad authors. Dude, I mean, no shade to those authors, but I
Yeah,
do hate those ads
it's,
that
like,
are like,
so
"Did you like
frustrating.
this
Yeah,
trope?" Like, we are,
yeah,
I feel like we've always talked about that. We're like, "I don't wanna know if they're enemies
yeah,
to lovers."
yeah,
The whole
right,
point is
right.
that you're like, "Maybe they won't be lovers.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they'll
You want a
stay enemies."
strangers to maybe siblings to definitely interested to definitely not siblings to lovers? Then read
Yeah.
the Shadowhunter series.
Yeah, but I mean, and you
You're
can
like, "Why
always
does she
turn
think
a
her
any
brother
trope.
is so hot? Oh, thank God he's not her brother. Woo!"
No, sometimes that gets a little too, like, "What do you mean?"
I had a moment. Yeah, uh-huh. And that's part of the I mean, everyone I don't know. I'm not breaking any rules. I think that's like a big critique of that particular book, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
That's funny.
but yeah, so that's where my writing lives. I have an idea for a standalone book. I haven't told you about this yet, but I
Ooh.
have an idea for a standalone book and it would deal with changelings.
Oh, what it
Um oh,
I
so
mean I
change
mean, is it like shapeshifters? Is that what you mean?
no, so where babies are abducted by fae and replaced with fae babies. And then the fae
Oh.
babies that are sent to the mortal world are there to like antagonize the mother and drive her crazy. And then the human baby that they take back into the fae realm are often raised as slaves.
Oh.
Yeah. And so but I want to write it from the perspective of the mother
Interesting. That could
who
be like
has
at baby stage or at like teenager stage?
baby stage.
Okay.
And like this very long standing vendetta that I mean it'll probably be afterwards, but like I don't know how to write it, but I just have this idea that like it's not necessarily an original idea. I saw it kind of as a writing prompt years ago and like whatever else,
It
and
does
then I
not need to be
became a mom.
original.
But
The fact that you're writing it is what will make it original.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that like the mother has a baby and then the baby is replaced with a fae, and so for a number of weeks or months or whatever out of the year, her baby is either super calm and chill or colicky as fuck, like biting on the tit, won't eat, super fussy, won't sleep, always sick, right? And that's the fae child versus when her child is with her biological child, who is
Oh,
like,
they switch them back and forth?
maybe, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, I guess.
Okay.
And at some point, I want her to enter into a bargain where she gets to pick which one is hers. And so they present both children to her, and the Fae, the dude, because it has to be a dude in my head, is just like, "You think you're so fucking clever? Tell me which one is your baby." And she somehow manages to take them both. And they're like,
Interesting.
"What?" And she's like, "First off, I know which one is mine because I'm the mother. But also, I was up night after night,
With this
nursing,
one.
caring, doing all the mother thing. They're both my children." And then I want the story to be of like her raising these twins who are not actually twins, but changeling situation.
Mhm.
But
That's
then but
so
it's
interesting.
completely pissed off and fucked up the Fey realm because this mortal woman like
Did he
out
just get away?
clever, yeah,
Like
like
he's
out
some, like,
clever well, I
strong
want it to be like, at some point there's been some epic bullshit and some like long-standing vendettas, and I don't know if like the mom part is like kind of the prequel to like the main characters being these sisters.
okay.
But yeah, I'm like, how cool would it be? Because like that's mom vibes for sure. You're like, I'm sorry, they're both mine. Like I'm caring for both of them, and
Hmm.
I love them both, and you can't have it back. So fuck you.
It
Um,
does kinda sound like a prequel, but I like the idea of the whole narrative being from the mother's perspective as
yeah,
well.
and
There needs
I'm
to be
kind of
more mother narratives anyway,
or just age appropriate narrative.
Just like anyone over 25.
Yeah, and like I kind of want to tell a story where like the fairies are kind of bad and
Yes.
manipulative and not
Like,
all
more accurate to what Faye are supposed to be?
yes. Yes, yes, that they're scary, that they're not that
Yeah,
you don't share your name, that you like, some of those like old, um, like
the
old, oh
traditional,
yeah,
yeah,
old world tradition things, but that just kind of lives. That's a that lives over in a different space. I have no characters, no ideas. I just know like, kind of the bare bones of something that I think sounds
that's
interesting.
cool.
Um, but yeah, no, for now it's Gideon and Genevieve.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's
I
gonna
don't
wake
even.
up soon.
But
I mean,
then
we
then
don't
you
we
can then your story will
Yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't meet Gideon until I don't know, chapter 9 or so. And then I just finished up chapter 12, and cuz he's injured when we meet him, and so from 9 to 12 he's like injured and like kind of delirious and not conscious, and so
Mm,
he's going to be alive. He's going to be revived. He is
mm,
revived. He's alive.
yeah,
He's fine. He's tired. He's sleeping right now. He's
that's
got a
fun.
weird curse thing happening on his chest. So like, you
He's all
know,
fucked up.
he's a little fucked up, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my characters are not like I have like this dad character who I've written a bunch about, but then I'm like, maybe I'll change all this stuff. And then I have my main character I've written probably the least about, like from her perspective.
Mhm.
Because I'm just like, there's nothing interesting about you. Like this guy's got this problem, this guy's got this problem.
It's kinda
And
like
then I
same
have like a
problem.
bunch of side characters,
Mhm.
um and also I'll just, like, write scenes, like, today I wrote a scene and I have 2 new characters. That
Nice.
and it's just because I just, like, literally don't think. I
Yeah.
just sit down and I go and I just type whatever, like and that's always how I've written, like, poems, that's how I wrote too, and it it'll be painful later when I have to
I
figure out how to where to put everything, but for now, it's kind of fun.
I feel like my main character will come more alive once I have the story done. And I think that, like, because once I have the story done and I know what everybody else is doing, then I can then go back and write it with her actually watching it happen. Because right now I'm just telling, like, and then these people, here's
Yeah.
the conversation, and I'm like sneaking in what I need to sneak in and foreshadowing what I know exists. But I don't really know my character because I can't have her react to something that I don't know what's happened yet. So I think that that's going to be like that stage 2 of my
Mhm.
writing is like once the story in its sort of bare bones exists, then I can
Oh,
go
yeah,
back
like
and be
the
like, "Oh, right, now
mhm.
I'm not telling the story. Sam is not telling the story anymore. Genevieve is experiencing the story."
Yeah.
And I think that that's where that character will come alive. But I think that that's why it's easier for me to jump into literally every other side character than it is for me to write for Genevieve yet.
Yeah. Part of me thinks maybe that's not my main character and it's just like an important character, but I like it to be the main character. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah.
um
I mean, it's all through
yeah.
mine's all through her eyes, so she definitely has to be the main character.
No, mine is a
Um,
split POV for sure. This is the one I have like yeah, like 40 almost 40,000 words on. So this
nice.
but I like it could be like 5 books, it could be like 1. It could be 1. It could
Yeah.
be like 2 or 3, but like it keeps like I keep finding like other civilizations
Hmm.
and I'm
Yeah.
like maybe some of those are actually different like a different thing, a
It's
different
gonna
book or something. But
it's gonna be your Canterbury Tales, where every character has a story that's in a different world. Yeah. Hmm.
no, I mean they all do feel like they're in this world.
Hmm.
Um but I don't know, I'm just going for the ride. So I'll just take whatever I can get. Plus, I have that brother sister story
Hmm.
with the sickness, which then I'm like, oh, I don't want to seem like I wrote like a pandemic narrative because it's not. It wasn't meant to be that. But so I don't know. Maybe I'll change that. But I wrote like I wrote a lot in that one. And I have all these characters that I'm like, yeah, it's like I never wrote like a character sheet for them. I met them as I wrote them,
Nice.
and I just feel like they feel more authentic that way, like,
Yeah.
because I think my subconscious is really like, "What would a real person say?" And I kind of like it's like they step out of the shadows and I'm like, "That's you. This is Sim, the barkeep, like, who
Uh-huh.
wants to snare his patrons in wagers whenever
Nice.
possible," like,
Hmm.
like and I'm like, I guess my brain had something I don't know. I'm kind of like a hippie like that, like, I'm like, "That's what that's what the brain was trying to do, so I'll just let it."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It's kind
Are
of yeah.
you like hoping to be published, or is your writing for you?
No, it'll I think it'll be published one day. I'm the kind of person though that I'd be fine working on this for like 20 years
Yeah.
and then publishing it is like 8 books at once. I'm just kidding. But like, like
Uh-huh.
I would be fine. Like I'm probably not gonna settle. I'm probably not gonna just like I don't know. I could just keep plucking away at this for like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. I just want the end product to be good,
Yeah.
regardless of how it
That's
that's it.
fair.
And so, because I don't really like the industry is going to do whatever the industry does. And I know that there's
Yeah.
things that you should do and shouldn't do and whatever, but I just want to create a good product. And
Yeah.
then I'm never going to feel bad about creating a good
Yeah.
product, a
Yeah.
good story. And then, no matter what the market's doing, if it's good enough, it will get something,
Yeah.
or I could do different kinds of publishing, or I don't really care. I
Yeah.
only care about having a good
Yeah.
output. And so in a perfect world, do I finish it next year and publish it and get a book deal and make a bunch of sure, but like I don't that's I like my job and
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Just doing this as a hobby for a long time, but also it'd be fun to like have it out there sooner. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of like that's where I'm at.
I am wanting to treat it a little bit more like a job, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
I'm trying to do
doing
that too. I'm trying to be
yeah,
more serious about it.
I'm doing the stay-at-home mom thing, right? My kids
Yeah.
again, 4 and 6, and for a number of reasons, I was like, it actually is just much more cost effective for me not to work than it is for me to work and pay for fucking childcare like crazy.
Dude.
And then just the downfalls of, anyways, lots of things.
Mhm.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
And so I talked to my husband the other day, and I was like, so here are my two options. I can go real hard on this and podcast and promote and write and try to publish and do all the things, and try to make this somewhat substantial, right, and
Uh-huh.
a living, an income somewhere, um or I can go back to school and get my teaching credential, and instead of teaching college I teach, you know
Mhm.
uh, high school. I'd be happy with
Yeah.
doing either. And Topher told me, he was like, "Well, do which one is most exciting and what is like your dream. I don't want to hold you back. I don't want you to be like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom and like you're forfeiting your dreams." And I was like, "Oh no, teaching. I don't know if it's my dream anymore. Like I did it. I did 10 years of teaching, um, and I think I have a different dream now. And so I'm kind of lucky enough that he's like, yeah, well, so I can support us financially until you figure out
That's
that."
awesome.
If nothing else, I have 2 years to figure it out because my son doesn't go into kindergarten, and I mean, he has another year of
Mhm.
before he goes into kindergarten, and, like, I could probably push it out another year and just be like, "Oh, it's his first year," and blah, 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 whatever else,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so, I'm like, "Cool, I got time," but I don't wanna be, like, completely irresponsible and be like, "I don't need a job," because, like,
Well, but you kind of
but
don't
I
like
don't, but, like,
if
I
you want
also
one, it's
well,
fine.
and,
But
I'm
don't you have like a little bit like you just feel like you should, and
yes,
therefore, yeah, it's like a
yes,
burden
yes,
complex.
yes,
So,
and it's also the, like, grew up poor complex, right? Like, it really
yeah,
doesn't matter how much money I ever make, I'm always gonna feel like
yeah,
we could lose it all, um, or it's not enough, or, like, do we need to budget? Like, I'm kind of in that crazy space, so even when we're completely comfortable, I'm like, "Cool,
yeah,
I need
you're
to," yeah,
freaking
and I
out.
also, on the other end of that, though, have a spending problem with books and
You just
Target,
want to be allowed
but
to do whatever and not
yeah,
no
and, like,
accountability.
yeah, I'm like, I want some financial independence and, like, all the sorts of things, and, um but yeah, so I'm like, if I can, the roles have been reversed in our marriage before, where I was the breadwinner and let him be like, cool, so quit your job and try this thing that you actually want to do, and he did, and it was terrifying, and now he's doing what he loves, and so he
Wow,
was
that's
kind of
cool.
like, quit your job, do this thing that you want to try, and if it works, great, and if it 2 years it doesn't, then you go back to school. School's always there. You like, teaching is always an option.
Well, and the thing about writing is that again, even doing a podcast, like we could kind of do them forever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's not like you had
And
to,
really
if
the
you didn't do it
longer
before your kid, before you went
no.
and got a job, you can just keep doing it.
Yeah, I'm like, we can always keep doing it. Then yeah, I think we're fine. I have big dreams for my podcast career, but most of it, sure, being able to do this for a living sounds great. But I think also it's just like, I don't know, put something out in the world that is uplifting, that is
Yeah.
encouraging, that is just kind of authentic and can maybe inspire somebody, like, right, like all these like kind of pipe dream stuff, I guess. But yeah, it's like some like there's a huge community of people who feel lonely who like reading. So like come
Uh-huh.
join.
And
Let's talk
who
about
want to
books.
write and feel like
Yeah.
silly for wanting to write.
Yeah, or
Um,
not wanting to share it or being like, "I've always kind of wanted to write, but I don't even know where to start." Like, girl, or boy, right? Like, we're here with you. Like,
mhm,
I had an idea about a scene and said, "Fuck it. What's the worst that can happen?" I never published, or I publish it and it's hot garbage and everybody hates it. And I'm mean, great. I got a thesis up there. Nobody's reading either. Like,
Yup.
okay. And then you
Yeah.
start to like birth these characters, and I don't know if it's like the mom
Mhm.
in me, but like I need to not be the only one who knows that they exist.
Mm.
Like I have fallen in love with some of these characters and I'm like, "Okay, I need to share. I need other people to meet them
Interesting. Yeah.
cuz
See,
I
I
adore
am
them."
not quite there yet, but I feel like when I have a product that I'm like, this is
Yeah.
good, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that is always the end goal, but
Yeah.
I'm also kind of just like so committed to like, it's just like, I never want to shill. I never want to like just write a shitty book to like
Yeah.
write. I never
Mhm.
want to like have like even like with the podcast, I wouldn't want to like try and just be only monetizing or taking
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
brands
yeah. No,
or
never.
something like,
Yeah.
because I care about the actual like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's
We want
there's
to
an
put something
interesting
good
group of
out.
people who are thinking about writing and reading and
Yep.
kind of wanting to do both and feeling a little silly, and also this is their side thing, and there's also so many book conversations.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's.
Well, and I think we definitely want to do like a weekly check-in with like what are we reading, right? Talk about the books that we're reading, talk about the things that we love about those books or the things that we don't love about the books as far as writing styles.
Mhm.
We want to check in with each other for how we're writing, right? I've allocated an hour and a half every day
Nice.
to writing within my crazy little schedule that I've created, and that's not counting like nighttime time, right? Like it's like literally from 9:30 to or 9 o'clock to 10:30 in the morning. Kids get to be
Nice.
plugged in and I am writing.
That's cool.
um and like an hour and a half isn't long, but then you start adding it up, it's all week, right? And then like
Yo, it's yeah.
I can steal hours other places, but if I have a block time to at least sit down with it and let it marinate, it's a whole lot easier to come back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like and like running into, I want to talk about things that we're running into, right? Like how are we world building or just like those questions where I'm like, I have this idea, but like why would a parent not do this? Or like why would a parent do this? I
Yeah,
need
we
this to
workshop those in real
yeah,
time.
like I need this to happen, but I don't know why someone wouldn't do this. Or like I need the conversation to kind of go like this, but no way that I write it does it come out like a natural fucking conversation.
Mhm.
Or where I'm like, does it make sense that this is what his magic is? Cause like, is that is that weird? Or
Yeah.
is this done? Is it too much? And then even just like with the actual drafting, like, you know, I wrote 2,000 words last week and I thought it was great. And then the next week you're like, I wrote 2,000 words and I think I'm going to delete it all. And like,
Yeah.
just like struggling or like, how do you get back in front of your computer and you type more and you write more and you think more? And yeah. And then of course, like more of like kind of the professional side of writing where I'm just like, I'm writing a story, I'm making it happen. And so it's going to be nice to be able to kind of pull from each other's skills.
Mhm. Well, and it's not like I necessarily know professional writing, although I do love, Gina Denny is who I listen to on TikTok all the
Mhm.
time, and she is professional, and she I just l I there she her Tik she has so many TikToks, and so I just kind of pull hers up and listen to them, like, while I'm doing
Yeah.
stuff, but I do know a lot of, like, creative writing
Yeah.
isms, like, I'd say my instincts for the actual writing, which almost they're not really a result of degree, they're a result of having been in a fuck ton of workshops. Because
Yeah.
you really don't like, actually, when I did community college with my husband, and, like, we did all these classes, and it was just people who just wanted to take, like, one writing class, and they weren't
Mhm.
going to school, and they were just, like, doing it for fun, and we had such a really interesting community of people. Then when I went to a 4 year, I met people who their first class of poetry was last semester, and the writing was, like, so much worse.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
it's just like, you
It's
just need
new.
time. You
Yeah.
need
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
time and
Yeah.
or a bunch of reading. That is the only shortcut, which
Yeah.
is funny because when I was younger, I was so, like, felt bad about not reading enough, so I was like, "Do I really gotta read?" And no, that is the only way,
Yeah. Yeah.
to, like, so
I feel like my
but
writing
yeah.
would be substantially worse if I hadn't read 70 books last year.
Everyone's would be. I mean, you would just be writing things and be like, "I'm the first one to think of this." And, like,
Well, and not
you're
only that, but like
you
there's
know?
things that I know, like I am not a fantastic writer. It doesn't come easy to me. I don't even particularly enjoy it in like this sitting down, the physical sitting down and the writing of it, right? And most
Mhm.
of that is because of academic writing. I fucking hate academic writing, hence the like not going on
Same.
for a PhD because my God. And so part of sitting down and writing has a little bit of that like PTSD of like, oh, I have to do footnotes. Right. And so I don't have that anymore, which is nice. But yeah, I think that there's just like there's such a community out there that we could be tapping into and just being able to draw from this. I
Yeah.
think that there is real knowledge to be had in reading and in
Yeah.
writing, and I think that there's so much of like the business side of writing and publishing and the pro that is just like it's a whole world of stuff that like we can literally talk about for fucking ever about, and just like tricks for editing, and like editing is its own marathon.
Beasts.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I think, like, we really do have like, it's not just about sitting down and be like, "I have a story, and I'm gonna put some words on a page." You're like, "Yes," but there's so much more that goes into that,
Yeah.
that either people don't know about, or they're in the thick of it, and they don't
Just
have
by
an outlet to just,
themselves.
like,
Yeah.
kinda get and so, like,
I
hopefully
see
we
this as
could
like
be.
what the podcast I would have wanted to listen to. It's
Yeah,
just people talking. It's just like a writing group essentially. It's just like,
yeah,
what's up with your story,
and
you
I have
know?
always wanted
Yeah.
to be in a writing group, and I have never been in a writing group.
No, I've been in one when I was very young into
And
it.
I've always wanted to be
Yeah.
in, like, a book club, but I've never been in a book
I've
club.
never been in a book club either.
So
And
here
this is
we
my goal.
are, we're in our reading and creative writing
Yeah.
club.
Yes.
Like, next week, we can kinda talk about, like, what kind of books we like and what I know that we don't think too much of tropes, but, what stories
We could
have.
do an episode on all we got to say about one trope at a time, dude. I feel like we just fucking
Oh, we could.
like, dude, there's
Um
so much to talk about with just like enemies to lovers. Like,
Uh-huh.
there's so
Mhm.
many ways people fuck that up, and so many ways people like
Yes.
that it can be so satisfying and so interesting.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We can't shut the fuck up.
we can. That's why we made a
This is why we have a
podcast.
podcast, because it needs to live outside of our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
Um,
also like, the other thing about like a writing group is like it's not like we have to be perfect or professionals. Any
no.
perspective is useful and interesting, like
Yeah.
honestly, especially in the writing sphere. Because like every writer is different. Every writer like does different things. Um, so it's kind of like so that's why you can reuse tropes thousands of times because your
Yeah.
your fucking brain's different.
Mhm. Yeah, so we'll check in next week. We'll figure out how much writing we've done, kind of what the
Oh, do we have a
experience of.
goal, a writing goal?
My goal's been like 2,000 words a week. I want to start
Okay,
with a small goal,
2000 is
cuz
good.
yeah, and I think the goal that I really need to be doing if I want to finish the book by the time that I have in my head, it's got to be more like a 5,000 words a week, but let's start with 2.
Let's do 2000.
2,000 words.
2000 2000 2 weeks in a row is better than
Yeah.
1000 in 3 weeks, like
Yes, it
it's
is.
something.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay,
so
I'll
we'll
try
do a
that too.
2,000 word challenge for next week. And then we can talk about, maybe we should do like a pits and peaks. Series that you loved, series that you hated.
I don't know if I'm well read enough for that. It would just be I don't know.
Guitar and Fourth Wing.
Yeah,
You're like, I
probably.
love the
Random
one,
Glass
and
and
the other
Fourth
one
Wing.
has problems.
Yeah, I mean,
They both have.
but
Everyone has
I
problems.
went into Fourth Wing reading it, like, for science, kind of, not for enjoyment. So,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't disappoint me because I didn't expect it to,
Yeah.
uh, I
I
almost said appoint
also,
me.
I can both acknowledge writing quality, for better for worse,
And just be
and
fine with it.
also just be entertained,
Yeah, totally.
right? And I think
Too
that
many people
that's
got
one of
sticks
the
up their butts.
I think that that's one of the scales that I'm like, is this
Mhm.
art? Is it well written? Is the plot good? Is it like all these like check off marks of like what makes a good book? But then one of my questions to myself is always like, were you entertained? Did you enjoy
Yeah.
it? Did you just
Pl
at the end of the day, did you just kind of like it? And it's
Plenty of
okay.
well-written
It's
books are not entertaining,
no,
and
no,
they're beautifully
and
written,
they're
and they
beautifully written.
deserve to be read by somebody sometimes,
Yeah,
but
no, The
and
Count of
people,
Monte
maybe it
Cristo,
appeals to someone.
beautifully written. Fuck my life if I'm ever gonna finish that book. It's like 800 pages. It's fucking nonsense. Just
No.
watch the movie.
Oh, I have
Whereas,
so many things against movie adaptations. I'm one of
yeah,
those.
sure, but yeah, I'm like, do I want to read Dante Alighieri again and again and again? No, it's beautifully written. Am I going to read Homer over and over again? No. Also, epic poetry, beautifully written. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be entertained by Fourth Wing or
Yep.
by Lights Out,
Although
which is
I could fight, yeah, Rebecca Yarros on a couple points, like fist fight
sure,
her. Just kidding.
sure. There's lots. Yeah, uh huh. But
Uh,
yeah, so that's where we're at. We'll check in next week and we'll see what the world has for us.
no, let's not talk about the world.
Well, it's what our worlds have for us.
Yes. Okay,
All right. I
cool.
will see you next week. Until then, keep reading.
Keep writing.